I'm Tanjila, and I have a pre-existing condition. I have sickle-cell disease. I was diagnosed at 18 months. Our cells are sickle-shaped, or they look like bananas. And they are sticky and rigid, and they clump together. And as they clump together, they cause pain in those areas. They are not able to receive the oxygen that they need to survive. So our vital organs are damaged, and we can have sickle cell crises anywhere that blood flows. So if you think of where blood flows, it's from your head to your toes. It's everywhere. And with it being everywhere, crisis in the brain would be a stroke. Crisis in the heart would be a heart attack. In our lungs, it's called acute chest syndrome. And those are typically the most deadly or most life-threatening crises. So for me, in my earlier years, I had a lot of crises, and so it was penicillin, folic acid. The penicillin was to try to prevent infections. I took that for 18 years, and then I discovered that the longer you take antibiotics, the less effective they are, so it was kind of a moot point then, and I'm like, we're not going to do this anymore. The folic acid is to help increase the production of the red blood cells. And then as I got older, there is now hydroxyurea, and it's a chemotherapy medication that I take every day. So if I didn't have access to health care, I wouldn't be able to afford these medications. And if I had to choose between medications to take, I would choose the chemotherapy medication because that's the one that has done the most for me. And so my son was diagnosed with asthma around a year and a half. And us both living with some type of pre-existing disease or chronic illness, it was rough. Stress triggered both of them. And so I remember there was a time that I was going into a sickle cell crisis, and I knew this ahead of time. And I'm laying there and I'm like, man, I need to, if I could just get the energy to get up and get this medicine. And so I call him in, because I've taught you to go and get stuff. And so I'm like, hey, go get mommy a juice. So I keep, I'm like, go get me a juice and go get that big bottle. And even when he's little, at this point I want to say he may have been, had been 3. He was about 3. And so I'm like, get mommy a juice and get the big bottle so I can take this medicine. And so as he's watching me, he's asking me what's wrong. And I'm telling him mommy's hurting, and he knew what that meant. When I said mommy's hurting, he knew that the hospital came with that, and Granny having to come over came with that, and it was a lot. He knew that it meant days of not seeing me. And so he started having an asthma attack. And as he's starting to have this asthma attack, and I'm sitting there and all I could do was pray, and I'm like, God, give me the energy and the strength to get up and get his medicine. So we're at a point where we're relying on each other almost. And I get the energy and I muster up the strength and I get his breathing machine down and I do his breathing treatment. But I'm not able to get to the medicine that I need for me because that's too far. It was in the kitchen. His room was next to my room, so it was easier for me to get there and get what he needed. And once I got him situated, then he hops back up and he's like, okay, I'm okay. And so he goes and gets the juice for me and gets the medicine for me, and we kind of just relax there together, like, okay, we have to recuperate together. We have to get, better together. When I heard about this lawsuit to eliminate the protections for pre-existing conditions, I was irritated, to say the least, because I felt like whoever was running around trying to get this lawsuit going or get the petition signed for it or whatever had to be done to get this lawsuit filed, you've never gone through anything. You've never experienced anything in your life that has required help. In the instant that my health insurance was affected to where I was not able to get this medication, that would be detrimental and it could be deadly. To know that Claire is fighting us, with us, by us. Like she sits down at the table with us to talk to us about how we feel about this and what we think. To me, that's amazing. We talk about sickle-cell warriors is what we call ourselves. But that's my kind of hero. Somebody that, my shiro, I would say. Somebody that is literally going into battle in places where my voice may never be heard. But she's taking the time to come and hear it. She's taking the time to sit down and say, what is it that concerns you? Why is this tough for you? And then she takes our arguments and she goes and does the rest of the fight for us. I love that.